questions during that.
So that's fine.
All right, you're on.
Okay, cool.
Get your timer.
So I have one on here too. So what I created, I call it brick and mortar, and finally came up with a name. It took me a while. That's one of the harder parts. And so it's an iOS app, and there's a server-side implementation and some other stuff that goes into it. But kind of, before I go into specifically what it is, I want to talk about the problem that it solves. So the problem is kind of represented by this image, and I'll actually pull up a website and show you kind of my inspiration behind this. So this website, Out and Back, are you guys familiar with Out and Back? It's on State Street,
Yeah, go on the hill.
kind of by University Mall.
Yeah.
So one time I was looking for Chacos, and I was going around to different places, and I couldn't find any, and it was just one of those times where I really wanted to get something, and I didn't know where I could find them. I ended up finding them here at Out and Back. And I happened to not look at their website, but if I had, I would have gone probably to footwear here and would have seen this. And if you actually go to their store, those of you who have gone to their store, they actually have quite a bit of product there. But as you look around their website, they don't really seem to have much for some reason. And I actually wasn't able to find anything actually that they have. So this is a prime example of the problem I'm trying to solve. And the problem is there's a disparity between what actually happens in a retail store, especially smaller ones like this. This has one location, and they obviously don't have a huge budget for some IT system or anything like that. And there's kind of this disconnect. And in the age we're in, most people would go and they'd search on the internet, they'd look around, and someone who'd never been here and doesn't know might have just passed by Out and Back. So brick and mortar's part of its focus is to solve this specific problem of helping people understand where they can find products. And so let me get my presentation back up here. So my solution, I thought about different ways to do this and other problems that are related. And this is kind of what I ended up coming up with. It's an iOS app, and I have some different technologies running. I'm using Node.js on my server, and I'm using MongoDB, which right now I'm hosted on MongoHQ, and I'm using Amazon Web Services. Mostly just to store images and make them easy for access and such. So this is kind of what the app looks like in kind of a spread out view. The phone connects through the server and is able to access the data it needs in the database, and it actually accesses Amazon Web Services directly. And specifically, I wanted to do this kind of a project because not only because of the problem itself, but also I wanted to touch every end of the process, each part of the process of making full-scale app. And I thought it'd be really cool to do the server side, to have do the infrastructure part of it, and I think that's valuable information. So that was another reason that I kind of decided to try and solve this problem. So some things that I'll go through right before I show it to you is the specific technology that I'm using. I mentioned Node.js and Amazon Web Services. Obviously iOS, and I'm using OpenShift, which is a place I'm able to host in the cloud. It's on a Red Hat server. That's where my server runs, and then MongoHQ is hosting my database. So Pretty
So,
simple technology.
Sorry, all you're using from Amazon Web Services is S3 or something?
Yeah, just using S3, yeah. And so I decided to go with S3 just because it was really easy to dump my files in there and kind of just provide a link to it. So for ease of use and ease of configuration, I decided to go with that. So I want to kind of go over and I'm gonna run the simulator just because I don't have a way to show my actual phone. I don't have one of the connectors. And I kind of want to run you through how I solved this problem and kind of where I'm at and where I want to go from here. So let's see. I'm going to get rid of this. We don't need this anymore. Okay. Okay, so the first thing you'll see here is this is kind of where the app comes to when they first started up, and there's kind of three parts of the app. There's posts, there's a section called Around Me, and there's settings. So posts, what posts is it's kind of my way of solving that issue we saw before. What someone's able to do is they're able to come in here and create a post of what they're looking for. I forgot to put that my section only has two. It says two. It's thinking it should have two table cells, but it really only should have one. So, for example, before I was looking for some chacos. Oh man. Okay, so I kind of write in what I'm wanting, and then it posts. So that was surprisingly fast. It actually went up to the server, saved in the database, and came back. And so this is kind of the main screen where someone can interact with it. After they make a post during the internet outage, I wasn't able to create some of my data to have you see what responses look like. But when you click on your posts, you're able to see the responses below. Sorry for not having the data there. It's been one of my big struggles is having test data. This is kind of I'll show you kind of some of the struggles I had with that in my lessons learned, but this is kind of what you would see. There would be another post pretty similar with a link to get directions to where it's at. And the idea is to kind of have a flow of information that's somewhat real time and accurate of what stores have. So this is kind of the user side of it. And I'll go over what the company side might look like later on. So the other part of the app is the Around Me. It worked. Yes. Location services are sometimes dodgy in this. So this Around Me section, just some kind of background on what this is. My father-in-law he's a manager of a mall in Twin Falls. And he kind of mentioned this problem to me. And he talked about it before and how he wanted a way for people to be able to communicate with stores. And just thinking about some problems that are unique with other retail outlets, such as malls, there's an interesting problem that there isn't much reason for them to create mobile apps or have and go through the process of development of a mobile app, just because people go to a lot of different malls, and from my father-in-law's point of view, he just doesn't think anybody would use it really. So part of what I wanted to do in this app is not only to connect people to information about what products are around them, but also give them good information about things that are close to them. So this is an example. This is a mall in Twin Falls. I kind of doctored it so it looks like it's at University Mall. But this is kind of what this would come up if they were inside or within a certain distance of the mall. recognize that it's there. It's using location services. It's sending it up, finding, so kind of stepping back. As soon as they open up around me, it starts updating their location and it shoots it up to the server. The server looks through the database and says, okay, within a 15-mile radius, what do we have? And it goes through and gets all the stuff in the database. As you can see, I don't have much around us right now. And it's probably because just this one mall was about 900 lines of code of JSON that I made by hand. And didn't want to do much more than that. If I would have built my creation process in a little earlier, it probably would have been a bit easier. But anyway. So right now what's happened so far is it went, touched the database. The database not only gave back things within a 15-mile radius, but also that I'm very close to. Like I said, it's doctored, so it looks like I'm at University Mall. So, for example, I'm just going to cancel here. Otherwise, if they weren't near it, they'd get this list, and what they do is they touch the list, and all this information is actually coming from Facebook. One thing I noticed is that a lot of different malls and stores have their own Facebook pages, and they put a lot of information, a lot of time and effort into those pages. So I decided to get the data from there and make it easy on them. So this is just kind of their feed. As you can see, I didn't quite get my didn't quite finish my formatting of it yet, but it's going to Facebook. So what happens is, in this screen right here, it's saying this just has like basically a name and an ID. And then as soon as I hit this, it hits my server, and the server hits Facebook, gets the information, and then passes back the information in my database and also the information from Facebook for this mall.
So is the app retrieving that data directly from Facebook or through your server?
Through the server. Yeah, so the server does that just because kind of mobile connections can be dodgy, so I decided to do it there. And so one of the other things that this has, so this is just kind of a feed, just kind of a basic information of what's going on at that place, but also in the case of a mall, it'd have a directory. So this is actually all the categorized list of all the stores in the mall and their locations. And this is going to be ugly, but just bear with me here. I know Dr. Littery would probably kind of ashamed of me because I didn't quite get this part done. But basically what it does is you touch on a spot in the directory and it'll show you an image, and this is actually where the store is, where that little spot is.
Are you dynamically overlaying that?
I'm not.
Okay.
I wish I was.
So image per...
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now. In the future, the idea would be to do some image processing on that. My goal was to have a zoomable image inside a scroll view. I was working on that this morning and I didn't get it finished. So it's there, and that's kind of just a vision of what it would be. And there's actually one of those for each of these. So that's kind of what the around me part of it is. And again, the idea is just to kind of get more information out there, especially for those who have that difficulty of getting it out there, and to make it in one place more consumable. So let me tell you a little bit about how I'm doing some of the verification of who someone is and how it works. So what I'm doing right now, the only authentication I have is actually directly through Facebook. I'm utilizing the Facebook SDK, which is actually pretty nice. They provide some really good iOS controls and code to help out.
You're talking about the iOS Facebook SDK,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I'm actually able to log in and log out of Facebook right here. And it does actually work. Oops. That's not my password.
I'll remember to pre-pen 2 exclamation points anytime I'm trying to brute force your password.
There you go. That's okay. I don't really go on Facebook that much anyway. Okay, well, apparently I'm not doing very well with my password. Let's try it again. Now you all know my password. That's fine.
We'll forget it.
That's right.
I don't really.
I have a hard enough time remembering.
It'll be on YouTube now. So
Oh, yikes.
it recognized that I've authorized brick and mortar, right?
I don't think you can see it, thanks.
I don't care. I can always change it. So it's recognized that I've already authorized it. So now what it's doing is just saving inside the app and recognizing that I'm there and who I am. And I actually use this data everywhere else in the app. I get their email address and their picture URL and stuff like that, and that's used elsewhere. And then this other part is actually something I added more recently. So one of the things that I want to make this app be able to do is for people who work at a company to be able to post on behalf of the company. So the way I decided to do this, at least for right now, is to have a registered, like a list of registered users on the company. And what happens is once a person logs in with Facebook, they go to this screen, and then this hits my server, and my server looks through the database to find any companies that have my email address registered with it. In the future, I'd be looking into a kind of a better way to do it, but that's how I decided to do it right now. And as soon as the records come back, it sends it back to the mobile app and registers that I've been authorized by this company. Then again, it saves it.
So how do you authorize or validate that company initially? I personally think this is probably the hardest part of your project.
It is, yeah. And so the way I'm doing it initially is that they would specify. So they would specify a list when they're kind of creating their account or managing their account. They would create a list of people that are allowed to post on their behalf.
How do I know the first person there is really out and back?
What do you mean the first person there?
Well, whoever registers that company initially.
Oh, yeah. That is the part I haven't figured out yet.
That's a tough one.
It is. And, maybe...
There might be a precedence for that. If that happens and the real company isn't the one that registered it, and they find out about it, you can always go in and kick out the original register.
Is that kind of how it works?
Company deal with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure like the legal ramifications and all that, but it is an interesting problem. I haven't got to the point of being able to solve that one yet. But kind of what I have so far is that I'm able to recognize that a user is able to post for a company, and only once that happens they can turn on what I call company mode, which isn't fully implemented yet, but when it's done, what it'll basically allow people to do is come in and see the feed that's specific to the company, and then go and respond to the posts. Like I said, I wasn't able to fully implement that yet. The stuff on the back end's just about there. Stuff on the front end's just about there, but a little extra isn't quite there yet. So that's kind of how the app is right now. Not quite as far as I wanted to get, but...
So tell me you said something that the companies would see the posts that were intended for them.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to do some parsing of the text of the post and identify keywords in there to link that back over to specific companies or specific industries or something? I know you talked about your kind of list
tags
of taxonomy of products or retail products.
Yeah, so kind of what I've done so far, and I might change how I'm doing this later on, but I'm kind of doing a more of a brute force method right now. And I actually have all the tags for let me see if I can, where is my mouse? Can anyone see it?
Yeah.
Is it over here? Oh, it's over here. My bad. Okay, so if we go to, for example, here's JCPenney, I think. Or, yeah, here's JCPenney. So I went and this was part of what hurt my soul to do is I went and actually got all of these tags. I just looked around their website and found all the things that were categorical or kind of I would think someone might put in a post. And my thought of what I would do is, as the post is uploaded, that people would put hashtags or something else to kind of describe the categories or specific brands that they're looking for, and I would compare that to the tags in my database. Like I said, probably not the most efficient way to do it, but it's kind of the way that I was going about it right now.
Just kind of one thought. You may consider stemming some of these words. Do you know what I mean by that?
You mean having like part of it?
Yeah, so the main part or meaning of the word and chopping off certain endings. I mean, particularly when,
like S's and
yeah,
stuff
exactly.
Like
that. Kind of.
It's a really good idea. I didn't think about that.
Condense what you have. But anyway, if you're interested in pursuing this, I might be able to help you a little bit, kind of consolidate or come up with a strategy for creating an index on these things and mapping them over to.
Yeah, I haven't had too much experience with databases and indexing and searching specifically. So that's one of the unknowns to me, the things that I still need to learn. But an interesting thing nonetheless. So
yeah.
Just kind of finish up here, some fun facts about 1,400 lines of Objective-C code and about 3,000 lines of JavaScript code.
Wow.
Counting the data that I had to manually create. So, like I said, that's almost 1,000 lines. So, about 2,000 lines of code I had to write for this stuff, about 4,000 total. So, not too bad. As far as lessons learned, I'd used a project that used Node.js before. I'd never really created a server-side application before. And it was really cool. I've done a lot of front-end web stuff. I've never done back-end web stuff, so it was really fun to get into the back-end, work with promises and work with asynchronous calls and all that fun stuff that goes along with it. And specifically, working with MongoDB was pretty interesting, how to learn how to do that. It was actually really easy with Node. And also, learned a lot about iOS programming. I just had the one class in iOS programming, and I did a mobile app at an internship, but it was in C#, so kind of got a little bit of an experience with that, but it was really fun to dive in deeper and get some more experience. NS user defaults really kicked me this morning. This morning my app wasn't even working because I didn't understand that you needed to synchronize the user defaults. So synchronizing the user defaults actually saved it onto the device. So what was happening is my IDs were null, and it was sending null as a parameter into the URLs, and it was messing up everything. So that was a fun lesson to learn how to use NS user defaults. It's really easy, but sometimes you can just miss something.
That's right.
So yeah, I mean, it was really fun to learn the server-side code, dive deeper into iOS, and kind of solve some of these problems. I still have a lot to go. I didn't quite get done everything that I wanted to do, but like I made a pretty good effort, and it was a fun time. So I guess that's all.
So how do you, what are your plans for monetization? And maybe a follow-up for that, and maybe this will answer it too. Is this just a Capstone project, or is it something more than that? Do you think you'll continue to pursue it?
I would say yes and yes. Like I might do more on it. I might not. I was talking about this with my father-in-law because he really likes the idea, and I showed it to him, and I'm excited about it. He's excited about it, and we think it could actually be useful. The issue is the amount of time that it would take and stuff like that. So I don't know as far as how I'm going to take it, how far I'm going to take it. But as far as monetization, what it would be kind of once I'd start out to try and get as many users and stores participating as possible by getting them in free. And then eventually I'd want to switch over to like a payment system where the companies would pay to have their information and access to this system. And it would be kind of a flat fee, and it would be kind of more of it would be inexpensive for a company relative to other ways that they could get their information out there. But by having a ton of participating stores and malls and such, could be quite lucrative if it were to create the network effect.
Yeah, I think we've discussed this before, but I think that there's a real opportunity in higher margin stores like malls, where they have employees that largely aren't doing anything,
Yeah.
Sitting around, et cetera. And that's an immense amount of money that's going to waste. And if you can tap in and increase a couple sales, over a couple hours or something, and that
Yeah.
could be substantial.
And that's a great sales pitch, for someone, because that's something my father-in-law deals with. He knows that there's a lot of, I guess, just people sitting around and inefficient use of, company money and how they're paying people to kind of do nothing, especially during certain hours of the day.
That's right.
You go to a mall in the middle of the day on a weekday, and there isn't much going on there. So
I think there could be some interesting exploration also about kind of limiting the volume of requests, either on the user side or the store side, but how long they persist, and maybe depending on the overall demand of the system, your queue gets a little bit smaller, a little bit more quickly, rather than just sticking around for a long time, and then how good the offer is for, or maybe we'll hold these for you versus we have them right now, and you come down. Anyway, there are lots of opportunities.
Yeah, and
Very interesting opportunities too.
it is very interesting. And hopefully I can find some time and be able to build this out a little bit more and figure out how to solve some of those other issues. And I'm sure there's a lot more that'll come up once I try to do that.
Yeah. Where are you going to work?
Paraveda.
Okay. So you'd have sort of hobby time for this kind of.
Yeah.
One thing that I'd strongly encourage is that you look at what we call the principles of lean startup.
Mm-hmm.
Nail It and Scale It, written by Nathan Furr, is a nice book that talks about some of those principles. Steve Blank has a book called Startup Owner's Manual.
Mm-hmm.
We have those up in the Rollins Center Library. You can check them out while you're here.
I think I have Nail It and Scale It
Do you?
in class.
Okay. You might check out the Startup Owner's Manual. But anyway, if you're serious about turning this into some kind of a side business, you need to spend a lot more time on customer development before you say, okay, now I've got this product nailed, let's go to scale.
Definitely.
So,
Definitely.
and probably you need more non-tech work at this point than you need tech. Because you know how hard it is to do that development now, and so hard translates into expensive.
Yeah, especially if it's not something they want.
But
Or not valued.
But in terms of if you want to do this for a hobby and just kind of hone your skills and roll the development, I'd encourage you to keep on tinkering with it. Like that scaling the image, Paul Haggerty's lectures will show you how to
Will they?
get
Okay.
a fully scrolling, zooming image. Yes, he walks through all of that. And so a few hours spent on those lectures would be awesome.
Yeah.
And I
Definitely.
think you'd find it to be, I think you'll understand it a lot more having gone through the class and now having done these 2 projects in mobile dev that you've done. So.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's definitely a lot of polish that I need to do, and I got to check out those lectures again.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have high expectations for it unless you say, yeah, I'm really going to quit my day job and go do this.
Yeah.
I would expect to launch a business takes a lot of energy.
It does, and that's why I don't know if I have that energy. We'll see.
You're young.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Thanks, Mack.